Thank you, Chair. Department.
I am Chirim, the Clerk of National Assembly, and thank you so much, Chairperson.
Save the Children to be here and to make our on this.
My name is Gift Communications and Media.
That for as long we spend about 15, if you are slow, 20 minutes, and then honorable members will seek and ask questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. To start with, I'll ask my colleague Kimberly, who will just give an introduction to our presentation, and then I'll take it up to sum it up. Thank you so much.
To give a enumerating that underpin children's academic success, foundation from grades 1 and frameworks. Regional assessments reveal some persistent challenges. Instruction policy. Primary curriculum and targeted strategies that aim to improve learning outcomes. Policy example at early childhood education as well as primary levels, intensifying the demand for quality infrastructure, teachers as well as resources. Within this works closely and collaboratively with the Ministry of Education to strengthen education systems as well as improve foundational learning outcomes. Save the Children focuses on ensuring that children achieve literacy and numeracy at the right age, that they remain in school, that they are safe as well as protected, and successfully transitioning across the different education levels. Led by Save the to inclusive, quality education for the children of Zambia. At this moment, I will hand back over to my colleague Esther.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. Honorable Chair, we were given specific areas that we needed to present before this committee. And one of them was to look at the current levels of foundational learning and numeracy in primary schools, how well teachers are trained and supported to teach foundational literacy and numeracy effectively, the availability and quality of teaching materials used in early grade reading, the urban-rural disparities in literacy and numeracy outcomes, as well as the equitable provision of resources and the deployment of qualified teachers, challenges and opportunities to achieving literacy and numeracy in primary schools, and recommend the way forward. We'll stick our discussion to those points as guided through the letters that we received. Yeah, so we'll start with looking at the current level of foundational literacy and numeracy in the primary schools. Like what my colleague has already alluded to, we are still having challenges in learners acquiring the basic literacy and numeracy skills. Going by statistics, Honorable Chair and Honorable Committee, we only have 4.6% of grade 2 students who could read, which is a decline from the 10% that we had in 2018. This is according to the USAID assessments that were done. So we just refer to some of these assessments and researches that have been done. Yeah, in as much as we are attached to what we say, but this is our source of reference, and we'll be citing those researches that have been done. Going by the Examinations Council of Zambia, we still have 75.2% of the assessed grade 5 learners who did not meet the minimum level of reading and proficiency expected for the grade. This is according to the Examinations Council of Zambia 2022. Further, the UNESCO James Spotlight reports that only 10% of grade 7 students meeting minimum proficiency in reading and 16% in mathematics. Yeah, including foundational gaps. These are foundational gaps that translate ECE, grade 1, grade 2. We see these now manifesting in the upper grades as children progress even into the secondary education. Overall, these statistics suggest that levels among learners in the early grades require outcomes associated with several factors. Honorable members, we have inadequate school resources, poor learning environments, limited pedagogical content knowledge among teachers, poor infrastructure, overcrowding, and inadequate teaching and learning materials. Despite these challenges, what are the opportunities that we have as a country? We believe that to every challenge there's also an opportunity. Zambia has a strong momentum currently that is going on around the education reforms, and we want to take advantage of this. We have a validated and launched the competence-based 2023 education curriculum, which I think right now every one of us we are focusing on, trying to understand how it will be rolled out, what will be the impact of this competence-based curriculum. Then we have the other cooperating partners who have come on board. Save the Children is sitting here as a grant agent for the Global Partnership for Education's grant. There are 2 grants that are coming into the Ministry of Education that are also strengthening the systems and the Ministry of Education to increase or improve foundational learning. Yeah, so we also have other cooperating partners as the EU and UNICEF and World Bank that are also already implementing some of these literacy foundational learning programs as well that are enhancing the literacy and numeracy skills. Therefore, what we are saying is that we need to do a quick recovery and acceleration, and later grade performance, transition, and completion will remain constrained if we don't accelerate our efforts. We have the opportunity right now through the same programs that I've mentioned, honorable ministers. We are supporting the Ministry of Education to print the teaching and learning materials for ECE and the grade 1 as they roll out for the next 3 years. So these are some of the opportunities that we are saying will help us and distribute the aligned teaching and learning materials that will help improve foundational learning. Coming to how well teachers are trained and supported to teaching foundational learning, we are saying that yes, we have a lot of colleges, teachers are trained, and there's a lot that is going on in teaching services. Teacher education and professional faces significant challenges as well, particularly in the pre-service where training remains largely theoretical. Yeah, so our hope is that with the current revised curriculum for the learners, we hope to see another revision to the teacher training programs as well, so that these two get aligned. As teachers are trained, they are going to be trained in teaching the revised curriculum or the competence-based curriculum. Yeah, and then we are coming from a scenario where we had the policy of language of instruction. The language of instruction for the early grades, Honorable Ministers, you agree with me that it was in the mother tongue, the local language of the area. And when you come to that issue, Honorable Ministers, we had evidence where we are working from that.
You have temporarily promoted us. We are members of Parliament.
Thank you. Sorry. I retract that. Members of Parliament, Honorable Members of Parliament, apologies for that. Honorable Members of Parliament, where certain teachers are deployed in areas where they have no idea of the language that is spoken in that area. Now, if a teacher is struggling to understand the language that they are supposed to use to instruct in the classroom, what more with the learners? And these learners are coming from various mother tongues. Yeah, you go to, I'll give an example, Honorable Members of Parliament, in Western Province, where we've done our programs. You go to Shangombo, you find Kwamashi, you find all these other languages. And yet, when those children come from those families where they're speaking Kwamashi, they go in a classroom, they are told to learn Silozi. And then you see a discrepancy. Now a child's trying to adjust to understand the Silozi versus the Kwamashi. Just an example of one area where we had this experience. And then the teacher who is there is my fellow Tonga from Southern Province, who does not even understand Silozi. So you have a double tragedy in the classroom happening at that particular time. Yeah, so we are cognizant that the recruitment and deployment of teachers has been taking place within the localities, and we hope going forward some of these challenges will be kept or managed. Yeah, in terms of teaching, in Save the Children, we have the philosophy which we say do the right thing at the first time. So when a teacher enters the classroom, what do? Let's do the right thing the first time. What we don't want is to see learners being taken into remedial, into catch-up. We know that government has adopted the catch-up program, which is very good, it is positive. But at the end of the day, why should we be pushing learners into catch-up or remedial lessons? Is the correct thing at the first they're interacting with. What we are saying is that let's strengthen the classroom management and allow teachers to bring out the skills, the pedagogical skills that they're supposed to teach at that particular time that they're interfacing with the learners in the classrooms. Yeah, so teachers, yes, we have teachers who are coming from private schools and those from colleges and those who are coming from the government institutions to look around and check the quality of the teaching, of the training. We feel that they still need more to be done, so that we also manage how these teachers are being trained vis-a-vis even the time they wait to get employed. You are trained today, you graduate, it takes 5 years for you to get into the class. Honorable one is and saying there is a lot that is going on, investing in them, in being trained, but I think there's still yet room for to improve as we train and deploy these teachers in the various schools. The ability and learner and the pupil textbook ratio, We still have, in certain instances, where one textbook is shared among 10 learners, one textbook among 5 learners, one textbook among 7, 8 learners. These are some of the challenges that we see in terms of the textbooks. Also aligning these textbooks to the curriculum. Certain schools are still using the outdated textbooks. Some of them are not aligned to our curriculum frameworks, and yeah, issues where and this has even widened the gap in books. Therefore, we have an opportunity, education and government, also to ensure that with the reforms that are going on, the availability of aligned teaching and learning materials will be made available within the schools. But also supported by the cooperating partners. Like I already indicated, Save the Children is on board to support the printing and distribution of the competenced curriculum and materials. So we'll be supporting that. I know EU will be supporting that. World Bank will be supporting that. So we still have that opportunity for us to do better in making sure that we get to the 1-to-1 ratios. When we were budgeting for the teaching and learning materials, we were reminded that the standard is 1-to-1. Every child should have their own textbook, their own learning material. But more so, we know that we are constrained with the availability of resources, but putting everything together, we know that, honorable members of parliament, this can be achieved. The urban and rural disparities in literacy and numeracy outcomes, the rural areas have got their own challenges, and they have shortages of teachers, they have an even distribution of these textbooks that we are talking about, large class sizes, limited learning materials, mobility issues. Many of these children are still traveling long distances to school. We want to take cognizance of what government is also doing through the CDF and all these resources in improving and ensuring that classrooms are being constructed, but still with the free education program, we still feel more needs to be done, because in those areas, even when you put a 1-by-3 classroom like we are witnessing, you still have huge number of children still coming back into school. So this is work that we believe, with the resources that is available and the commitment from government and the cooperating stakeholders, we can still move in the right direction. Yeah. We also see teachers retention in the rural areas, which is a challenge. Teacher retention, we know that teachers are getting those hardship allowances and so on. We did some bit of survey in Western Province where we just wanted to understand how teachers were placed in those schools. And one thing that came out was that, yes, some teachers are deployed in those schools quite all right, but retention is an issue. A teacher will report today, 2 months, 3 months down the line, they want to move out of those rural areas. Hard to, and then they have all excuses with the education officials in those areas, was that yes, they want to retain the teachers, health conditions, they want to go where they can access health facilities. So you are left with no option, because you cannot allow a human being to die because they need to be tied to a school. But then we understand that some of those genuine reasons, but we still hope that certain measures can be put in place to ensure that those teachers who are deployed in rural areas are highly incentivized, given the accommodation, given the access to the resources or amenities which they need, so that they can stay in those rural areas and continue to teach. Yeah, so investing in school grants and dedicated CDF, we think this is a huge opportunity for the government to maximize on, because we've seen already that it's mitigating some of these challenges that teachers are going through. Building of teacher accommodation houses, expansion in the classroom blocks, and we hope that these programs, such programs, will continue as well. Also leveraging on donor programs such as the Zambia Enhancing Education Learning, EDI Learning, which World Bank is also doing. We know there are some constructions of ECE centers, the hubs and so on that are going on. yeah, we hope that government can continue to support such programs. And then increased investments in free education. Also, yes, this we are seeing even the budget increase and so on that is going on. Yeah, otherwise, also being caught off COVID, we know that we learned a lot of lessons coming from there, and we are hoping that we are utilizing the opportunity of increased ICT and even explore artificial intelligence to see how it can help enhance even teacher training, access, availability of materials that can be used and accessed by learners even in the primary schools. Thank you, honorable members of parliament. I now give to Hermes just to give our recommendations.
Your mic. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. As you notice, my colleague is very passionate, so she gave the recommendations. I will pick 2 or 3 for discussion purposes only, but I think that she's done a good job to share the scenario, but also give recommendations. So the first recommendation we wanted to suggest to the Honorable Committee Chair is that we expect that there should be support for rapid foundational learning and numeracy recovery. This is to acknowledge that we have a problem that we can't just let go and then sort out the future problems. So we want to recommend that the Ministry of Education, government and the cooperating partners must come up with this recovery program to deal with the aspect that we are dealing with now. What do we do to the children that have been left behind, as described by my colleague? But also the issue of language of instruction, we wanted to recommend that we issue practical guidance for language of instruction implementation, including decoding routines, frequency, practice, and structured support for code switching as well, because this will definitely be part of the solutions that we wanted to see later on as we progress. I will pick on number 6, Honorable Chair, where we're saying we expedite the printing and distribution of aligned TLM to move with the phased approach for rollout of competence-based framework or curriculum. I noticed that the 2026 budget, the Honorable Minister of Finance allocated the specific money to deal with the aspect of the rolling out of the curriculum. And we wanted to emphasize that we will need to do much to expedite that process so that we don't create another lag in terms of how children progress. I will then go to number 7. I'm passionate because of the differences that I see between the urban and the rural areas. Here we're saying target rural equity with smart deployment and incentives. Use teacher management information system to place new recruitments or recruits where pupil-teacher ratio is the highest. So I think that there should be a science on how we are going to deploy the new recruitment. We address the issue of teacher ratio. There is one girl we appeared in one of the committees with from Lufunsa who shared with us around how as adults we are happy about the free education because it's saving our money. And she says, I'm happy about it too, but the challenge is that when I'm late at school or if I delay a bit, I will either learn from the window or I will have nowhere to sit. And I think that the President gave directives to that extent, but to bring in more desks. But we still accept that in terms of infrastructure, we need to do more. This amount, even the pupils that were out more were those in the rural areas compared to the urban areas. So we think that there should be equity in how we tackle that that piece of work. Here we continue to say we modernize hardship allowances administration to reduce leakage and pair it with non-monetary incentives. Housing, we were just conversating with my colleague that a teacher would be given maybe a considerable housing allowance in an area where there is no infrastructure that they will use to even spend that money for. So modernizing it to to even include non-monetary incentives, for example, fast-tracking promotion for those that work in areas like those, it then becomes more beneficial to those in the areas. And because a lot of these, Esther has touched it, I will go to the financing on of time. So we're recommending that we reinvest the foundational learning line in the Ministry of Education. Is early grades, where returning execution timeline for TLM and coaching. We think that this should be reinforced, particularly if you look at how the distributed allocation for the Ministry of Education is done. If 1 million is given, we are aware that over 80% goes to emoluments. And so very little is left for the actual supply of education. And in turn, you notice that learning, they are the ones that would be disadvantaged. But if we ring-fence these type of allocations, we work with the ministry to structure a budget that demonstrate that there will be progress based on the finances being given to that ministry. For example, as well, I noticed that the past few years budget integrity has been high, so we wanted to recommend that if where we need to spend, we spend at that time, and then we emphasize that it's done in that case. But we also have money allocated for coaching. We have made some recommendations on how the governance and management of it must be improved. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I think we've taken 24 minutes. So 4 minutes. Members, it's now time for you to seek clarification or ask questions. My Vice Chair, anything? Ladies first.
Some of the
Another Honorable Sumzingira, any question? Honorable Banda? Yes.
In your introduction, you did talk about limited teacher training. We just want you to help us. What do you mean by limited universities rolling out? Do not anything specific for early childhood, or perhaps there's something else? Chairperson, thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Dako, you don't have anything? Okay. You may answer the two questions. Thank you.
You wanted to answer? Okay, thank you so much, honorable members here. How does Save the Children come in to bridge the gap? Presentation, I was working with the Ministry of Education to ensure that we accelerate some of these programs. We are currently sitting here as the grant for the Global Partnership for Education, and we'll be working for the 3 years to ensure that we support the Ministry of Education with I'll talk about the rollout of the competence-based curriculum. That is one of the priority areas in this reform, and this is what we are working on. We are also going to print the teaching and learning materials. We are going to support the distribution up to the learner, the point of learner, and this program will be done in the 10 provinces of Zambia in 60 districts. So it's a huge program, and we hope that by the end of 3 years, we want to reduce the learning poverty from 98.5% to at least 80% or 80.5, 85% by 10% at the minimum. Yeah, so it's an ambitious goal that we have set for ourselves. working with the Minister of Education, so that at the end of the 3 years, we begin to see some improvements in the literacy and numeracy skills for learners. Other than that, we've been working in the education sector even for the past 40 years. Save the Children has been in this country for 40 years, honorable members. And education has been one of the cornerstone programs that we have as an organization. We've we've been a major player in the ECE sector, actually, the Early Childhood and Learning Program in various provinces. We've trained teachers, we've provided additional books, teaching reading resources. We have our own approaches that we also use, that we have tested and seen that they work in improving literacy and numeracy outcomes for learners. We have the emergent numeracy approach. We have the remote in the areas where we work, and we've seen tremendous progress. If you went to Petauke, as I'm speaking right now, you find that we do these literacy programs with the communities, actually, because we promote literacy starting from the homestead with the parents up to the school or the center. We believe that communities have got a role. If we are to turn this around, the parents have a key role in ensuring that they are promoting literacy and numeracy skills at the age within the home where these children. We invest heavily as well. But suffice to say that we don't work alone. We work with the Ministry of Education, and we recognize that expertise that sits within the ministry. Thank you so much. And the second one, an analysis where we've already colleges, others in government, what goes on in the private as they get into the classroom. We still feel we are coming also from the certificate into the diploma levels. We've seen those improvements, but we still feel they still need to do more. Even when they come out from this training or the college or the university, as they get into the practical scenario of being to deliver the content, this is where issues begin. So we still need to support that continued professional development so that teachers continue upskilling in those areas that they see as gaps as they graduate or enter into the classrooms. I think this is the point that we wanted to bring out as we speak about some of these points.
Thank you very much. Save the Children, thank you very much for coming. Your contributions are really valid, and we'll make sure we report according to how we are given us on this subject. So we are very grateful, and now that we have come to an end, I now remove Cap 12. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for still watching Parliament TV as we endeavor to bring Parliament closer to you. So that was a submission that we listened to from Save the Children Foundation, and it was led by Ms. Esther Nkumbwa. So Save the Children was making a submission to the Committee on Education, Science and Technology, and the topic under consideration is reviewing the state of foundational literacy and numeracy levels in primary schools. And earlier on today we did listen to a submission from Kwame Nkrumah University, and Professor Muya Bruce led the delegation, and he's the Deputy Vice Chancellor. So for now I think that indeed marks the end of deliberations in the Committee on Education, Science and Technology. We hope that you've enjoyed watching the deliberations as we brought them to you live from Committee Room 5 here at Parliament Buildings. But remember that in the afternoon we'll indeed bring you some more live sittings as they take place here at Parliament, and just to be specific, we'll be looking at Cabinet Affairs. So to get to know the witnesses that will come up in the afternoon making a submission to the Committee on Cabinet Affairs, please stay tuned to Parliament TV, the station that brings Parliament closer to you. For now, I'll take a break until later on in the afternoon. Thank you, and of course, on behalf of my colleague Chola Kauma, Jason Manda, and the entire production crew, we'll still be around broadcasting many other programs on Parliament TV. But as I said, for live deliberations, 14:30, as we air proceedings that will be taking place in the Cabinet Affairs. Enjoy watching Parliament TV.